Before you start the clock, I just want to say that you asked me to speak slowly, but then you knocked my 15 minutes down to 12 minutes.
You got a little bit of time.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to be here. Help.
What was that about time?
Wait. Come on.
This is traditional at all costs. How does this thing work?
Thank you. Okay. Wait. Okay, got it. Okay, so just really briefly, I'm going to give an overview of oral PrEP and then what's in the pipeline. Because even though we're still struggling to scale up oral PrEP, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. So what do we know? What are the basics of oral PrEP? So far, Trovato, or TDF-FTC, is the only PrEP agent that we've had, although I will talk about TAF. PrEP reduces HIV risk across all types of exposures, sexes and genders, and dosing regimens. There's no significant side effects. Drug resistance can occur if someone is undiagnosed and begins PrEP, or takes it inconsistently and then gets infected. And we know now that people who are indeed at high risk can adhere to their drug regimens. And we know, this was a gift that if I knew how to work it, she'd be like, duh. If PrEP works if you take it. So when you take it, you being, traditionally we thought of it was when MSM or men, cis men take it, that it would be at least 96% effective with 4 doses a week. But now we're starting to see some evidence from women's demonstration studies that show that even women taking PrEP 4 times a week can have very, very high protective rates. So it is forgiving for cis men and cis women, and pretty much those who take it 4 or more doses a week is sufficient for full protection. The WHO says that leading in time, optimal protection would be 7 days before you're exposed. And we have daily oral for all, and we have 211 for men who have sex with men. So let's just stop there. We've got the magic pill, right? But no, because these adherence to an oral pill is great for those who can do it, but there's a lot of people who can't. And for those who can't or don't want to do oral PrEP, there's a robust pipeline. We'll call it PrEP 2.0. And I just want to read this quote. Although TDF-based oral PrEP has been shown to be highly effective, its reliance on adherence for effectiveness has of its full potential for reducing incidence. The future of PrEP is characterized by a robust development pipeline. And I'm going to go through the pipeline very quickly. It's a huge field. Let's just focus on the third column in development, efficacy trials underway. Efficacy trials are the large-scale phase 2B, phase 3 studies, and they're really important. They're the ones that are happening now because the results will hopefully lead to licensure and then scale up. So we need to be focused on those and prepared for them now. So FTAF, which the results just came out this year, and I'll talk about that. It's an updated version of TDF-FTC. We've got large-scale vaccines in studies now, long-acting injectable PrEP, so that you don't have to take a pill, and broadly neutralizing antibodies as an injection for PrEP. And so those are in large-scale studies now, and those could potentially be in the market in the next 5 years or so. In development, so in earlier phases or in preclinical before even they're in human trials, we've got a whole slew of different drug agents and delivery mechanisms, and this doesn't even show it, but this does. It's very confusing. I'm sure you can't see any of it, but if you look at the right-hand column, the last column, all those pretty circles and colors, those are all different drug agents, like different antivirals. And that's the different agents that people are looking at, that researchers are looking at for in addition to Trovato or TDF-FTC. And then the second to last column, I don't know that you could see that either, but those are all the different delivery mechanisms, from enemas to patches to vaginal rings and rectal and vaginal microbicides. So many different delivery mechanisms. So they're combining all of these mechanisms and all of these delivery and all of these agents together, and they're moving them through the first column, preclinical. Those are all the ones that they're still trying to work out how to combine all of this together, and then hopefully move them through clinical trials. And this is just a closer-up picture of some of the different applications. The top left is a vaginal ring, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. You could load that up with dapivirine, an antiviral, and even oral contraception and together. The second one is a gel. And I just want to point out that in Warsaw, they're starting a phase 1 rectal and vaginal microbicide gel study for the first time, which is exciting, with a new antiviral. And then these are just more examples of enemas and patches, and the bottom right is an implant that gets implanted under the skin. These are just some examples. So let's focus on what's really happening, what's closer up the pipeline. So FTAF, many of you have heard of TAF, which is, it's F as in FTC TAF. So it's kind of a version of TDF-FTC. It's supposed to be I don't want to use the tricked out version. It's supposed to be a better version, but it's not better necessarily at all. It's a little editorializing. So they just actually released results this past year showing that they compared it Trovato to Descovy, or FTAF to TDF, and they showed that it's non-inferior is the technical term. So it's as good but not better as Trovato. And it showed some minor statistically significant improvements over bone density and renal health. But it also showed more of a capacity for obesity and cardiovascular profile. They also only studied it in cis men and trans women. They did not study it in cis women or trans men, and they didn't look at the 211 event-driven. And it's under patent and it's expensive. However, the US FDA just approved it last week, or 10 days ago, but they approved it excluding individuals at risk from receptive vaginal sex. Now this is an important population, as with trans men, that's been sort of left out of the equation. Gilead did not, even though they were encouraged by the community, did not look at it in cis women, and we can't assume that it's going to work in cis women, so we want to see Gilead do studies in cis women and trans men, and adolescent girls and young women. So we anticipate that Gilead will be filing with the EMA. Is this something that is going to be additive for Europe? Does Europe need TAF? And there will be someone from Gilead speaking at the conference, so you can interrogate them. So other agents, injectables, and vaccines in the pipeline there's a once monthly pill, so instead of taking a pill every day or during sex, hopefully maybe there'll be a once a month. That might be better for people who can't adhere, or at least another option. And so then there's long-acting injectables, and these are in large-scale phase 3 studies. So this is important and very, very promising. It's a shot. It's an injection every 8 weeks with the antiviral cabotegravir, and there's 2 efficacy trials right now. Some of the issues are if this shot works and protects you for 8 weeks, will people come to the injection site? to keep getting it every 8 weeks. And then there's the drug tail. So if you get the shot, what they're seeing is that the drug stays in body for cis men 44 weeks, and it can stay in cis women for 66 weeks. That's over a year. And they call it a tail. And I don't know that they don't know yet if this tail would be virally protective, how long it will actually be protective for, or will it actually be cause resistance? And we don't know yet. And so that's something to pay attention to. Also, this study has excluded trans women with butt implants because it's actually a shot into the buttocks. And we'll see results in 2021. And then importantly, there are 3 vaccine trials happening now. Phase 3, large scale, or phase 2B, large scale vaccine trials, which is who knew that in our lifetime there might be a vaccine coming down the pike very soon. And they're good enough to have made it to phase 3. And importantly, there's the Mosaico vaccine. It's the first HIV vaccine trial, large-scale trial here in Europe. And it's happening in Poland, Italy, and Spain. And results will happen. It's just starting here. So it's a space to watch. And then there's broadly neutralizing antibodies that are also in large-scale studies, but these won't necessarily go for licensure because it's an infusion. You go to the clinic and you get an infusion for maybe an hour every 8 weeks, and they're based on, they have cloned the antibodies from long-term non-progressors, elite controllers, and they stick them directly into people to see if they will prevent HIV. Instead of getting a vaccine and waiting for your body to create the antibodies, these are just putting antibodies into your body. There's a phase 2B, and we will get results very soon. And hopefully this will inform the science. We're probably going to want to test them out, combination antibodies. This study that we have now is just one antibody. And then just really quickly, there's the implants and the patches. But let me just first talk quickly about the rings. So there is a ring that has been proven to work, and they've taken it to the EMA for regulatory approval for women in Africa. This is a pending decision. Hopefully it will happen in 2020, but this means nothing for Europe. So if Europe wants a vaginal ring, it needs to the makers have to do a whole new application. They're also looking at a 3-month dapivirine ring, which the one that was just the monthly ring is a 4-week, obviously. So they'll get a 3-month ring as well. And multi-purpose technologies. So they're looking at something to prevent STIs, HIV, and pregnancy with vaginal rings. There's a dual pill with PrEP and oral contraception, microbicide, and that dual pill is actually it's progressed, and it's something that's probably going to happen soon. Implants, transdermal PrEP. I'm going to go through that. So just sort of some milestones that we're looking at in the near future. The vaginal ring. Regulatory opinion by EMA in 2020, possible to market in 2021. Multi-purpose ring, phase 2-3 in 2022. Oral PrEP, we already have FTAF. Monthly pill could go into phase 3 in 2021. Possible dual pill, which is the PrEP and the oral contraception, can go to market in 2021. CAB, long-acting injectable. We could have results as early as 2022, make it to market soon. I don't think I need to read all of these, but you get the picture that there's a lot coming down the pike, that it's not just oral PrEP. And we're struggling so much now for oral PrEP. When these start coming to the market, there's a lot of work to do. And also, I need to really talk about all these large-scale trials that are hopefully coming down. What do we do now, because we can't do the traditional random clinical trial because we have PrEP. And to not have PrEP in those trials as part of the prevention arm or part of the intervention arm would be unethical. So the field is really grappling with how do we do trials with PrEP, because PrEP will bring down the infection rate in the trial, and it's going to require larger, more expensive trials, and no one can afford them. So we need to come up with innovative, creative trial designs, and to do that, we really need the community to weigh in to see what's possible. So in conclusion, is Europe ready? There's oral PrEP is highly effective for those who can adhere. For those who cannot, there is an unmet need. There's a robust prevention pipeline for alternatives to oral PrEP. Is FTAF something that Europe wants or needs? Would it be additive and helpful? There's long-acting injectable PrEP coming soon, hopefully. There's the vaginal ring that the EMA is going to be ruling on. What about women in Europe? There's the Mosaic vaccine here in Europe. Does the community even know about it? And trial design is a big deal, as I said. And how do we keep this research and development pipeline on the HIV agenda? And just to tell you that AVAC, my organization, in conjunction with PrEPster, we're starting a greater involvement of people who use PrEP, so that it's almost like the greater involvement of people with HIV, is so that PrEP users are front and center in the advocacy movement, and really behind research and implementation. And if you want some more information, come to AVAC and go to PrEP Watch and come to me. Thanks.
Thank you, Cindra. Just wait there for a minute. We're slightly over time, but has anyone got any burning questions? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Can you make your way to mics quickly? I'm going to allocate this 1 minute. If we ask all 3 questions, and we'll try to rattle through them. Naughty Cindra.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I went over.
It's all right.
I had to speak really slowly.
Agis, Latvia. Very quick question now. I've been actually following with all those latest research also on Mosaic vaccine and etc. But to your estimate, I know you kind of gave a very optimistic view that in 5 years we would have all these gadgets. I mean, if you look at the, well, if you look at the tenofovir, it was actually, as you know, patented in 1986, and Gilead was sitting for 11 years before in 97 actually they released it. So looking that history in mind, would you really think it's 5 years before a lot of these goodies are actually hit the marketplace?
Thank you. Just hold that. We're going to ask the other 2 questions. So that's 5-year reality for the new pipelines to come to market. Ask your question, please.
Yeah, I had a question about your rhetorical question, is there a need for TAF? I would say yes, for men who have kidney problems.
Okay, is there a need for TAF? And finally, hello, you. Ask your question.
How do you see the community engaging in the redesigning of new clinical trials which would be necessary to, for new drugs?
Thank you.
That's a great question. Okay. First speaker, well, they're all different candidates. So there's vaccines, there's long-acting injectables, et cetera. And I think that it depends on it depends on all of us, the community, the researchers, et cetera. But Gilead and ViiV are both going to be here. So ViiV is making cabotegravir, Gilead is TAF, so we can really talk to them about their timelines and hold them accountable to make the timelines efficient and to put research forward that we want. I don't know if that answers your questions.
Okay, can we go on to, is there a need for the new formulation TAF, quickly?
That's up to us. Is that something, I mean, Trovato, FTC, 3TC, is 96%, at least 96% protective if used. And it's available through generics. Do you want to pay a lot more money for something that's just as good?
That's not what I said. The problem is with TDF, it can give kidney problems. Now, there are men that have to discontinue TDF simply because they have kidney problems. For those men, TAF may be a good option, apart from the costs.
Cindra, we're out of time.
Okay.
I'm going to, just quickly,
okay.
I'm going to...
But what percentage of men have kidney problems?
Cindra, I'm going to come back to the new formulation in the discussion. And finally, what can we do as a community for greater involvement in upcoming trials?
Oh, that's a really good one. First of all, so get in touch with Mosaico, which is Janssen, who's rolling out the vaccine trial now. Definitely, they need community to be involved with rolling out and designing their protocol's already designed, but there's mechanisms, there's forums all the time if you're really interested in staying up on, especially the trial design. If you have access to your researchers in your countries, it's important that you make your community available. And I can talk to you offline about GPP, greater participatory practices of researchers and community.
Thank you, Cindra. Thank you very much.